Start your day with Quaker Protein Instant Oatmeal. The instant oatmeal ready to help you tackle whatever your day brings. Like wrangling your toddler into their car seat. That was fun. Coaching your 6th graders soccer team. Go girls! And carrying all the groceries in one trip. Whew. Try Quaker Protein Instant Oatmeal, granola, and bars. Great taste and a good source of protein. Quaker, bring out the good.
Good things come in fours, like ukulele strings, boy band members, and PayPal Pay in 4. No fees, no interest, no impact on your credit score. Just the flexibility to pay the way that works for you. Strum it, hum it, pay it in 4. Download the PayPal app to get started. Subject to approval. Learn more at paypal.com/payin4. PayPal Inc. NMLS 910457.
Kayak gets my flight, hotel, and rental car right, so I can tune out travel advice that's just plain wrong.
Bro, Skycoin. Way better than points.
Never fly during a Scorpio full moon.
Just tell the manager you'll sue. Instant room upgrade.
Stop taking bad travel advice. Start comparing hundreds of sites with Kayak and get your trip right.
Bad advice? You talking to me?
Kayak. Got that right.
So do you remember everything we said on last week's podcast? Well, that's all wrong now. So Munster and the Stormers are back after dishing out batterings this week. Leinster lost. The Bulls nearly lost to the Scarlets, and the bloody Lions are 3rd in the league. So we're going to talk about all of that and more on this week's URC Rewind. Let's start the show. Welcome back to the full panel of Irish Adam, Scottish Ethan, and South African Muhammed. Welcome, gents.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I am Welsh Huw. My microphone is once again trying to make a bid for freedom. He's saying, I'm sick of rugby and I'm sick of you. So, in the name of saving my microphones, any more blushes, we're going to make an immediate start talking about the URC in what was one of the most exciting weekends that we've had in a good while. There's only one place to start, the top of the table clash between the Stormers and Glasgow Warriors. Muhammed, I never saw this scoreline coming. Never.
I didn't think they would win by this much of a convincing score. I thought, especially seeing the team sheets, doing the in-depth analysis on the Friday night Bit of an Animal podcast, I thought that Stormers would win, but not by this much. I'm super stoked that the Stormers denied Glasgow any points whatsoever. That means Glasgow toured and no points. I think maybe I didn't factor in on any of the podcasts I was on last week, or any of us on Bit of an Animal factored in the degree to which the emotional toll that Stormers might have had prior to last week's game. But what I did say is that this was the performance I had hoped they would perform with against Connacht last week. I really wanted them to win both home games. So they lost the first one, but they won this one incredibly convincingly. They didn't muck around with giving as a retiring hooker, like a send-off to start in front of the crowd and stuff like that. They just went in and put in like low mistakes, clinical and like thoughtful performance. And this is the type of thing you want to do. You want to get the 5 points. You want to deny the team who's close to you on the log the 5 points. And it going into it, I mean, didn't feel like a top of the table clash, but then when it actually happened, it did feel like top of the table clash, at least from the South African perspective. I don't think this is a true reflection of Glasgow, though.
Sasha was good.
Yeah, I mean, like his performance was a bit more measured. Kobus Reinach's performance was a bit more measured as well. There was some stuff that Kobus Reinach was doing, like stepping back to avoid the lock from blocking his box kicks. Is something some of the other scrum halves I saw this week to not do so well, including the Sharks replacement scrum half Barry Davis. We'll get to that later. The changes in the team was fantastic. It was a more like, look, teams will try innovative stuff like putting Damien Willemse on the wing. They'll do like clever things here and there to throw off the opposition. But this is, especially when we saw the team sheet, this was the performance we thought the team sheet warranted in terms of the players are playing in their primary positions, and let's see them play. And the weird thing is that Damien Willemse probably touched the ball less playing at fullback than he does at wing, but he has a greater impact on the game, in my humble opinion. Although I personally feel that maybe 12 is the best position for him. That's not necessarily the best position for him, but it's maybe the position I enjoy the most seeing him, because then he can sort of double up as an extra fly off and that type of thing. So I don't know what the stats bore out for that, but this is just my anecdotal opinion watching it whilst also looking at my phone. So yeah, I think, I mean, Cobus Reina got hurt. That's a bit of an issue going forward. But yeah, I think the Stormers did exactly what I wanted. And on top of it, they did, to the best of my understanding, they needed to get 16,500 people to break Leinster's record of home attendance during the regular season. And I think they got more than that. I looked at the app later. So yeah, congratulations to them. And yeah, everybody I know who attended the game, including a lot of casual supporters, like people who outright tell you they don't watch rugby, they just watch cricket, had a fun time.
Well, there you go. We are massive, is what we're saying. I thought the Willemse had a tremendous impact on the game. I thought that early on, everything just seemed to be running so much smoother because Willemse was in his rightful place at fullback. And he brought, I think, Willemse being more involved in the game, being in that position, brings so much better out of Sasha as well. I think that has a big impact on him. Cobus looked like he played well, and the Stormers pack, for me, absolutely did a job on Glasgow. Ethan, what's your views on this one? You know, it's starting to look a bit like, oh, do you remember when we were top for Glasgow?
Yeah, I mean, the view from second is not as good as the view from top, but it's a weird one because Franco, after the game, said, oh gosh, it was something along the lines of, it's okay, we still got the rest of the season sort of things, don't be too, forget about it. We can turn it around sort of thing. And I'm kind of like, I do believe we can, but so far you've not really given much convincing evidence we will, because it's been like 3 kind of disastrous games in a row for Glasgow. And nothing really seems to have gotten better from. They were slightly better than last week, but is that just because of who came back in? Like Hastings being back in, I felt was a bit of a game changer rather than Lancaster. But even then,
Yeah, but
he didn't do
he
that
had
much.
a few dodgy moments though.
Yeah.
Hastings, and he's starting to put a few cheap shots in his game. You're still missing both your scrum halves, and you're still missing your second rows.
Yeah, I felt that. I mean, Afshar again. There was one try that directly came from an Afshar box kick, and it was a horrible one to watch because it's kind of like a poor decision making. Because Afshar's got a great kicking game. Like the number of times he's managed to get like a 50-22 is unreal. But it's more his like tactical kicking. I don't know if it's just like the camera angle, but always just seems he kicks to somebody rather than kicking to space for Glasgow to then try and run and chase it. And there was that try that it was awful defending overall from Glasgow. That Hiddleston,
it's not what you expect.
No, and that's the thing, that defending's been a problem for the last 3 weeks or the 3 games, and nothing seems to be getting better because you see like Kyle Rowe at the end, just he doesn't even try he puts a hand on it, but he doesn't try to make a tackle. It's like, well, Kyle, you could have saved us 7 points there. But it's not looking great, to be honest. I think part of it is injuries, and as I said during the game to Muhammed, it was kind of why did they keep falling over? Only Glasgow players kept slipping. None of the Stormers players slipped at all. And it's like, I don't even know how to explain that. And they kept knocking on. There's so many missed passes and forward passes. Like there was such a nice break, and I think it was Gregor Hiddleston tries to throw it at Kyle Steyn, but it was forward, and Kyle Steyn was kind of like, bro, what the fuck? But yeah.
So Muhammad is saying it's the pitcher's fault.
Yeah, so the pitch has been a big talking point all season. First, it was injuring people. Now it's making people slip. I didn't get a chance to rewatch the game because I wanted to see, like, did any of the Stormers players slip? Because during the game, Ethan did mention, like, wow, a lot of Glasgow players are slipping, and they kept slipping, like, right towards the end. So it could be in terms of, like, the stats. And just like a touch on what we spoke about earlier, I did feel like Damon Willemse made a massive impact from fullback. I just maybe thought that in general, I need to look at the other games. They might have touched the ball more in from wing, but I was super stoked to see him play there. And then Similani did really well at wing as well, because you got to remember Similani made his name at outside center, but then when he moved to the Bulls sort of like steal young players from other unions, and then they just shift them around. So Similani sort of fizzled out at the Bulls at wing, because they put him at wing and then they just dropped him for like months on end. And then he went to the Stormers and he's played really well now. Weird thing about Similani is his younger brother's also in the sort of junior box setup, so we could have a double Similani setup soon enough.
The stuff his dreams are made of. I just think it's such a huge statement from the Stormers to turn this one around, and I was doubting them. I fully admit that I was doubting them, and they made it work. I think that Dobbo took a bit of medicine and said, right, okay, let's pick the players in their best positions. Let's pick our best players. And they produced the results, and now they're back top of the log. They've got a tough away end to the season, 2 games away, which we'll talk about in a minute. But they've given themselves a chance now. They've given themselves much of a chance. How much would they be ruining what happened against Connacht? Because they could have had a bit of a buffer with there. But that's the league. That's the URC for you. Anyway, let's move on to game 2. I'm going to bring in Adam now because it's an all-Irish affair. Munster versus Ulster. And Adam, I'm going to give you credit straight away because you called this weeks ago. You said Ulster are going to play a changed team for this match and they're going to lose. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, we took the kids round seriously. We started going around and going to the under-18 lads, you take this one.
I'll tell you what, 7 tries, 2 try scorers. That's a vibe.
Is it a vibe for an Ulster fan? It's a vibe for Munster because, to be fair,
and I'll just get it in early, right? Alex Kindellan's last try, his third one, that was never a try. The Ulster players grounded that 100%. Anyway,
yeah, James Humphreys did ground that. Anyway, John Hodnett scoring 4 tries is like something out of a video game when you have your favorite player. That's what it felt like. He was always just cropping up on the wing and like knocking down a couple of our boys. But I must say, I think this is like really beneficial to Munster in their season, given, the sort of troubles that they're having on and off the pitch. They needed something like this to sort of, especially what we did to them at the start of the season, when we thrashed them. So they're only returning a favour. Jack Crowley was off injured in the warm-up and it was replaced by JJ Hanrahan in the before the game. He was replaced by JJ Hanrahan starting at 10, and I preemptively put into the group chat, this is gonna bode well for Ulster. trying to take in anything that I can. But to be fair, the first half was really close. The Ulster boys, quite literally, did really well. I thought in the first half, I thought we really put it to Munster. I think Munster were not shocked by the defense, but I felt like they were in a way. That's all King scoring the first try, a very, very well placed try by him.
Who the heck is he? Because I saw him on the screen. I was like, who is this 7 foot tall, 6 foot wide bloke who I've never heard of?
He's former Leinster Academy. Now, I think he was on 2 years Leinster Academy, now Ulster Academy for 3 years. Never really got a shot. I think he plays for Hinch. The comments can correct me if I'm wrong. I think he plays for Balmahinch in the IL, but basically he's never really had a moment to like shine, and never had the moment because at Ulster we've got so many wingers. We've got so many wingers. Not enough loose head props, but so many wingers. But yeah, he took a very well taken try. And then that's what really shocked me. Well, not shocked me, made me proud about this result. Like, you can't really say you're proud of a 41-14 result, but given the circumstances, given the team, I thought we were really up for it. But then I put in the Interprosure group chat, for a team like this, we have to wait until 60 minutes to get a really good gauge on it. And then it hit around about the 50th minute, and that's when we started to slip off. Munster started to throw to the only 2 players they had on the pitch. I think their last try, the last try, which was like that sort of odd one. It was an interesting take, but it didn't really affect the game at all. It wouldn't affect the points anyway either. It was just one of those rugby mistakes. There was something that happened though in the game that I did think should have been a yellow card, and I don't know if anyone else has seen this, but the Shane Daly shot on Ben Moxham when he sort of like got the ball, went lower. Shane Daly didn't go in, didn't really exactly wrap the arms, just went in for a shoulder, and Moxham like went back in himself and fell backwards. And it was sort of called a rugby incident at the time, but it was a really interesting take on it. Because the way his head went back. Um, I thought Johnny Scott coming off the bench as well was quite good because I was hoping that he scored, so I can just go like, great Scott. But saying that though, it was a good performance by Munster. We do say this a lot about sometimes in the URC when a team underperforms or a team necessarily sends out a weaker team, is that Munster had a game where they can only play what's in front of them and they won. We lost our two front in Churlster fashion this part of the year. We lost our two front row props before half time. And it was sort of like, oh, even in the academy, we're not made of hard stuff and we don't have a 4G pitch to blame it. But saying that, I feel like this is a result that Munster needed. They had a debut in I think it was Ben O'Donovan, who came off the bench and looked pretty snappy. I think the likes of as well as John Hodnett and Alex Kindellan had a really good game. They just seemed to. Pardon?
What I will say about Alex Kindellan is he's a photographer's dream because when he scores, which he happens to quite a bit lately, it's weird. He like gets up and gives it a proper like right to the camera, so you can get like like that. And then you get loads of photos from him, and he's just perfect for thumbnails. He's absolutely perfect for thumbnails.
He knows that he's perfect for thumbnails. That's the perfect thing about it. But see, this is where John Hodnett is almost like he's almost like a Sevens player in the fact that he can play wing and outgas the 13-year-old that's outside him.
The thing about John Hodnett's tries were, though, that every single one was really different. Well, there's two kind of ones on the wing, but he had some up close ones as well.
Yeah, I think also it shows it shows for Munster is that they can like this sort of game they would have been stressed at, especially coming into like into the second half because we were really close, and I did feel like there's something has to give here. But yeah, another thing I need to point out about Munster is that JJ Hanrahan only made 3 kicks, which I found interesting as well. That could have looked a lot worse on the scoreboard, but it sort of favoured us a little bit. But yeah, as I said, Munster played what they were in front of them. It was a very good result for them considering everything that's going on. They're 5th on the table. We're now 8th. Don't know how we went from 2nd to 8th, but that's the URC for you.
It unfortunately is, but I think Munster, because when I had a look at Munster's run-in fixtures, I was like, they're not out of it. They just need like one win, and then they're straight back into this title race. And so it's proved, and we'll have a bit of look at the log a bit later on and see what we think of Munster's chances. But for Ulster, is it now all guns blazing Challenge Cup?
Oh, I think this team was a statement of intent. And having watched Exeter v Gloucester, I'm really worried the fact that I'm now lulled into a full sense of security. However, we don't have any props, so it's going to be all guns blazing for Bilbao. Well, this game first, and then hopefully Bilbao after. So fingers crossed. That's why I'm wearing a Gloucester shirt today as well, trying to get in their heads.
Okay, well, fair enough. Anyway, and then the last one we'll talk about before we have a wee break will be. We talked about first versus second. We've talked about some teams in the chasing pack. Now let's talk about the third place team, which is, for some goddamn reason, the Lions. Muhammed, what the heck is going on? And this was a big game as well, and they've won it.
Yeah, they. I think we're done sort of like doubting the Lions. Yes, I don't think they'll necessarily win a playoff game if they get an away playoff game, but we're still in the round robin. They've got 2 heavy games coming up after the break, but they're doing the business. The Lions are doing what they told us they want to do. They just took a very long time to do it. The Lions been saying for years, if we can get a settled team, decent strength and conditioning, no massive injuries. You need a bit of luck. These players are talented, and we can mix in a sense of young guys and more experienced guys, get the right balance within the team because you don't want too much of young players like the Ulster team that was run out, and the Sharks ran out a bunch of young teams throughout the season, EPCR and URC, and a bit more of the veterans, like lesser known players, journeymen, like the guy on the wing. I forget what his name is, but the one who took Kelly Mpeku's place, Eric Cornier, like he's sort of an obscure player. Was the Cheetahs, played for Zebre a bunch of times, didn't really do fantastic. They played a lot, but was maybe hoping to maybe get picked by Italy, but then came back to South Africa and is doing well at the Lions. The Lions have also made some key signings like Hashim Peed, even though he wasn't in this team. Krappies, Monet van der Berg has always been a high profile player. So it's not like the Bulls and the Sharks and the Stormers can monopolize all the really good players, including like stocking them in the reserve team. There's so much talent within South Africa that the Lions can get first choice of certain players and even poach some players like they got Batukane from the Sharks, telling Batukane you're more likely to play here, even though the Stormers, sorry, the Lions, for my perspective, when I looked at their depth chart, did have like really good players like JW Esther Steenkamp. He's injured now, but he can play really well at 8 and 7. They got him from the Bulls basically by saying the same selling point that Hakane came to the Lions, as that like you're not really going to play at the Bulls, so just move 50 kilometers down here south and you're more likely to play. So it was an incredibly clinical performance, especially considering like Connacht are no slouches. They beat the Stormers last week. They had 1 or 2 injuries. I see good old Josh Murphy didn't make it. I understand he partied really hard after beating the Stormers, but that was like inside info. But yeah, I think credit to the Lions. Hopefully they can get a home knockout stage. They got 2 more tough games, but I think this is definitely a successful season for them already, and we're not even done yet.
Someone said to me that like they've got 2 Springboks in key positions. They've got Quan Horn and they've got Morne van den Berg, and that's working well for them. And then bringing in Chris Smith has obviously been a big boon to them as well. And talk to me about Angelo Davids. He seems to be having a great season.
Yeah, Angelo Davids, weirdly, Lions supporter, Global Game Lions correspondent, Temi Corsi doesn't think he's having a good season, so he might know a bit more insight than myself and you. But I like Angelo Davids. He was playing at the Stormers. He came through the 7s team and then into the 15s system at the Stormers. Because lots of 7s players live in Stellenbosch, it's easy to more transition to the Stormers. And then I thought he would stick around at the Stormers, but he was like, no, I'm going to the Lions. It's more likely I play there. And he's played most games this season. He played really well in the Currie Cup for them as well, since he came over from before the Currie Cup started. So here he's had a fantastic season. I think Siba Maash has also been a revelation, a guy who played for the Baby Box in a time that the Baby Box weren't necessarily dominant, and then he fell somewhat into obscurity in terms of he was more in the Lions second team, and now this season he's had a breakout season. Siba Maash very much less of a Paul de Villiers, Heinrich Coronia poacher type player. He can turn the ball over, but more of a Siya Kolisi, Pepsi Buthelezi type player, sort of a more mobile, bigger, quite large for open side flanker. So yeah, credit to the Lions. I'm really stoked for them. And I think they're getting slowly more and more people into the stadium. So people are really buying into this. Other Lions correspondent on the Global Game Lions, Sibusiso, had actually been offered tickets for this game, but he had a family commitment, so he couldn't attend, unfortunately.
Okay. And then Adam, from a Connacht point of view, it's not too bad in terms of the performance and stuff, but you felt like, how many more winnable games have they got? What do you think this means for Connacht's season?
I think for Connacht's season, I think if I was a Connacht fan, I wouldn't mind the run-in. You've got Munster at home, which is fairly beatable, given the standards of Connacht in the past couple of years, especially out in the West. And you've got Edinburgh away. And you would think, if you're a Connacht fan, you just need to win 2 games. If you're a Connacht fan, you're looking at the Ulster games and seeing that we've got Stormers in Glasgow at home, and you've given, what happened before. For Connacht, every game's winnable. I think they were not that they were hard done by, but they were very unlucky. Very unlucky. Shane Bolton's try was marked off due to it was number 22. It was Sean Nocton. Sean Nocton dropping it just before in a ruck, just by chance, just knocked it on just before. Because after that, I think in the last what 3 minutes they scored two tries. Matthew Devine, when he came on the pitch, looked really snappy and really, really quite good. Um, Not to mention Ulster again, but that's really good for us, to be honest with you, because he's looking really snappy. He was making all the right passes. I felt like he was really quick off the mark. But yeah, in a world without TMO, imagine that. They would be what 28-33, and they would have two losing bonus points. They didn't really back down in the second half. They could have quite easily backed down in the second half, but they actually performed better in the second half and commanded the game pretty well. In that second half, it's a pity that the first half didn't work out as well for them because they got nailed. But yeah, I think Connacht, top eight isn't completely off the table, especially considering, you'd have Munster wanting to win their games, yes, but Connacht are a bit of a bogey team for most provinces on a good day, away as well. And Edinburgh, you would expect them to beat Edinburgh, so I don't think their top eight dreams aren't quite over yet.
No, I mean, we'll take a look at the table to see whether I agree with you. But before we do that, I just want to remind people that if you're enjoying what you're seeing so far, please consider subscribing to the Global Game Line on YouTube. So this is the most diverse rugby podcast platform that you'll find anywhere in the world. Not only is there a weekly URC show, but there's a weekly French Top 14 show. There's a weekly Women's Six Nations / Pack 4 show that you need to watch. There's a weekly USA show. Scum of the Earth is sometimes on, and Dave just had an interview with Robbie Knock, the Top 14 commentator. There's a weekly Irish show as well that Adam is on. There's a weekly South African show that Muhammed is on.
Bi-weekly now.
Huh?
It's bi-weekly now. We go Mondays and Fridays.
Twice a week. And then there's the Top 14 podcast that I mentioned before that I'm on. So it's a bit of rugby from a bit of everywhere. And if that sounds like a bit of you, please consider subscribing. Right. It's really hard to choose the running order this week because there's so many games that, really deserve talking about. And controversially, I'm going to do one that probably should be towards the end of the running order, but Ethan hasn't spoken for a while, so I want to include him. Edinburgh versus the Sharks in the I'll catch the highlights game of the weekend. You got the win, Ethan, so all good.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably the best they've played all season, I want to say. It was quite a tit for tat game, and I will acknowledge like both teams have their injuries, and as Mohammed was saying, it's kind of a lot of youngsters making their debut. Because who was it that I said looked 14? Like there's someone there. You're like, no way are you a professional adult player, because he just looks so young. But no, it was a really good game overall. As I said, tit for tat. Sharks got the first try. I think it was Shatuka. Was it?
Yeah. One of the Shatuka brothers? No.
Yeah,
it was
Pipsi.
It was Pipsi Buthelezi who got the thing, but the comms can't tell them apart because yes, Manu Tutuka and Pipsi Buthelezi do look quite similar. It's almost but the comms, but then eventually they figured it out. Yeah.
But
anyway.
The official URC website says it was Manu Shatuka.
Yeah, but it was actually Pepsi Buthelezi. I don't know why they kept it because he had the ball, and then they actually corrected it. But I guess it's. I think we've long established that the official URC website is run by like a poor intern. Shame. Poor guy.
Ewan Ashman had a great game, but I was thinking this. Like, I tried to find a stat before the show to see how many tries he scored this season because he just every time Edinburgh plays, he seems to score. And I don't think it's quite a Johnny Matthews try rate just yet. I would love to see the comparison, but he mustn't be too far off, right? If anyone wants to do the sorry.
No, I don't. I was just going to say I don't know. Let's have a look at the stats because I don't actually know who the top try scorer in the URC at the moment is. So this is going to be a moment of excitement. Ivan Ruas That's boring.
Yeah.
And then Embrace Papia, then Sean Hansen, Sean Jansen. He hasn't played in ages, has he? He's been injured, so that's quite something.
Yeah.
And then JJ Kenny. Well, that's it. That's an interesting and diverse group of people. Chris Smith, top point scorer, as we live and breathe.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. What else do we want to say about Edinburgh before I ask Muhammed about the Sharks?
Oh gosh, I'm trying to remember.
Darcy Graham scored a nice try.
Oh yeah, no, that was his first try for Edinburgh since October.
What?
Which is mental. But that was a cracker of a try though.
I shall find the highlights if I can in a minute after I've looked at the stats.
Yeah, and I mean Hector Patterson's second game for Edinburgh, second start, and his second try for Edinburgh. So he's doing pretty well in his last 2 weeks.
He's having a decent time of it. Muhammed, what do you think of how the Sharks got on?
On the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king, and that's why Edinburgh won. Both teams stacked on paper, anyway, if everyone's fit. Really, really good teams, but both teams playing really poorly this season. This game was very much an arm wrestle until Edinburgh, towards the end, I'd say the last 20 minutes, showed their class and execution. Sharks were in it to a degree here and there. I mean, notable players was obviously Pepsi Buthelezi scoring. I see the stat that I have from the website that I'm looking at right now. It does actually show Pepsi Buthelezi scoring, and then Vincent Tuka did score as well. So maybe that was the confusion. Unfortunately, Jaden Hendricks went off with another very bad concussion, got knocked out completely, very similar to what happened to him early in the season. So hopefully that's not too bad an issue. Jean Smith started again at fly off. We'd probably not want to start Jean, considering he's leaving us for Benetton next season, but he's the only fit fly off we have. Magazola Mampimpi had an okay-ish game. Sia Masuku played really well off the bench against Connacht last week. Connacht, who did we play last week? I forget. Against whatever team we played last week. And then, but unfortunately, he got injured quite early in towards the end of the first half. Was playing inside center. He started inside center in this game. Andre Estesen he was wearing number 13 outside center, but he played mostly like an inside center, so that might have been a head fake. He was carrying the ball quite well, played throughout the game, made some turnovers. Even van der Merwe had a game reasonably anyway. Siaya, very young guy, 18-year-old, had a good game for the most part, but I mean, in attack, he had a good game. But you can see, like, when you play an 18-year-old at this level, he got a bit overwhelmed. Like, the Edinburgh were attacking, and then Siaya got an intercept, and we don't know if he realized he caught the ball in the moment, tried to call a mark from a intercept pass, or he might have been looking at the defensive line and then looked and thought maybe somebody kicked it. So there was a bit of confusion towards that point of like, this guy just call a mark off an intercept pass? Can you allowed to do that? But the thing is, 18-year-old is playing away in Europe. He was very good on attack. Every time they tried to tackle him, he kept slipping away. The guy that Ethan thought looked very, very young, I believe was Bradley Davis. He came on because Jaden got hurt. He has had good games since. He's come in for a lot of criticism after this game, people freaking out. But I feel like since he came back from that really bad injury in the Currie Cup, he's played reasonably well, played 1 or 2 games. He played one game entirely where they had a scrum off on the bench and they just played Bradley Davis the whole game. I believe we won that game at home. This game, he struggled a little. He kept getting caught trying to box kick, and then they would hit it down. He wasn't doing that thing that Kobus Reinach does, where he sort of steps back. A lot of senior players do that. So, I mean, Bradley Davis, 22 years old. He's still learning. Overall, now the Sharks have zero chance of making the playoffs. So it's going to be interesting to see what we do going forward. I think for the sake of the young players, you don't throw all the young players in like Ulster just did, because then they're just going to lose and what they're going to learn from that. So mix in the senior players with the young players and try and win the next 2 games against the Italian teams. And the next game is against Benetton. So I a week ago, I'd have thought you said, oh, that's an easy game. No, it's not.
Well, we'll come on to that in a minute. Have things actually gotten any better under JP, do you think?
I think it's like a poison chalice type thing. Like, he came in, he's obviously a Sharks legend, a guy who grew up in Cape Town, but then got a chance to play at the Sharks in the position he wanted to play. JP's background is always like, because he was so tall, they kept making him try to play lock, or like blindside at like club rugby level, but he always wanted to play in the back line. I think we have to grade at a curve. It's complete chaos at the Sharks. You can tune into a bit of an animal on the Monday or Friday show, and we will unpack exactly all the things. I mean, hindsight's 2020, but the injury crisis doesn't help. What's our S&C like? Strength and conditioning, because these are a lot of injuries. Some of the injuries are just rugby injuries. People are getting concussed. Other injuries are like, well, the Osprey supporters will say, "Oh, suck it up. We jumped on your guy over the line," you know. And then other injuries are just like sort of just stuff that happens. So we have to look into that. Overall, I think we did the double-edged sword thing 4 years ago. We've got a good team. The Sharks, before this guy bought the Sharks 5 years ago, was actually the only South African team that was either breaking even or making a profit. They were half owned by the television channel SuperSport. And then we got bought over by sort of outside people who wanted to bring Siya Kolisi in and that type of thing. And then we shifted a guy like Evan Ross out to Cape Town so they could bring in a ready-made product like Sikamuza Noche. And it worked for a couple of years, but at a certain point, the wheels are going to fall off, and we're seeing the wheels fall off now. So I would cut JP some slack. And that's just me, probably maybe biased, because JP's been one of my all-time favorite players all the years. I think it was my first real major player that I supported. And then it obviously became Lucanio Am, who was like untouchable for a couple of years.
We're going to come on to talking about Leinster losing in Benetton in a minute, but not before I've told everybody all about Cardiff versus Ospreys. So the Welsh Derby on Friday nights, and Cardiff get the win. Congratulations to them, 24-21. That keeps their playoff hopes still alive and kicking. And I think it was absolutely the right result based on how the teams played over the course of the 80. Clearly the better team, in my opinion, were Cardiff. But it was like a mirror image of last week's game against the Scarlets, where they got up to a 24-7 lead and looked like they might throw it away towards the end. And that's exactly what the Scarlets did. We got to a 24-7 lead and did throw it away. But Cardiff managed to hang on. So, still flying the flag for Welsh rugby, I guess. I have to say that both this game and the Scarlets game, I've been quite disappointed by the level of rugby that's been played, by the quality. I don't know whether it's because of Derby and the teams are so closely matched that they just kind of cancel each other out and stuff. And yes, it's kind of been tense because it's come down to the last few minutes. Yes, it's been dramatic. Yes, there's been talking points. But has the rugby been actually of a decent quality? No, in my opinion. And that's a bit of a shame. I mean, you don't care if you're Cardiff because you just got the win. For the Ospreys, I mean, I'll see if I can find the stats now, because to back up a week where everyone's been calling you cheats for 7 days with a performance like this is a hell of a life choice. Because, I mean, if I go down to the discipline, I don't actually know what it is yet. 16 penalties conceded, a red card and 2 yellow cards. Should have been 3. Jack Morgan should have had a yellow card, but was let off by a fairly fresh-faced referee. And I have to say that it's a bit weird that the URC have the way that the games they choose to dish out first caps for referees, because several times in Welsh derbies it's been like, oh, this is the referee's first game. Like, don't give a novice referee a Welsh derby. Like, why are we doing this? And the Scarlets Cardiff game, I thought last week was poorly refereed, and I thought that there were several moments in this Cardiff Ospreys game which were poorly refereed as well, I have to say. But I think it's especially difficult against the Ospreys because the referee's always going to be highly involved in an Ospreys game because of the game they try to play. And my new theory is that it's not a coincidence that the Ospreys are always involved in these like late comebacks. So they, like in the last 10 minutes, it always feels like they might snatch it. Either they did snatch it against the Dragons, nearly did against Ulster, and also did against Ulster in the league. You can rattle off like probably half a dozen examples this season of the Ospreys being out of it after 60 minutes and then going on to either nearly win the game or winning the game. I don't think that's a coincidence. I think that what that comes from is that the Ospreys game plan is just to basically stink the place out. And I'm just being honest about it. They've got players. I can show you plenty of clips of their players playing great rugby and exciting rugby and attacking rugby, carving teams open. But they just choose not to do it for at least 60 minutes of every team and try and make it an arm wrestle, like kind of wrestle you in the mud. You know, what's the saying? Never wrestle a pig because everyone gets covered in shit and the pig likes it. That's the Ospreys. And I don't understand why they're playing like that. They don't have to play like that, but for some reason, they just drag everybody else down a level and try and. But it's not like the scrum was a complete lottery in this game, and I really think the referee struggled. Their line out was not great either, was really quite poor. And like I said, the discipline's not great. So why they're trying to play that kind of game where they don't have to, I don't know. But it's just the type of rugby that they're playing is just, you know, there was a time when Warren Gatland, the story was, this is never said publicly, but the story was, I think someone at the Ospreys said it at a fan meet and greet, that Warren Gatland didn't like the culture at the Ospreys, and that's why he stopped picking Ospreys players for Wales. I just don't understand why they're playing this horrible, ugly game of rugby. Like, Cardiff tried to play good rugby and failed at times and did badly. Ospreys never even tried to play good rugby in this game. And I don't understand why they're like that. And I think that, you know, especially, like I said, after a week where everyone's been calling you cheats for a week, to go out and play like that, if I was an Ospreys fan, I would be really unhappy. You know, if my rugby team played rugby like that, I wouldn't accept it personally. Anyway, did anybody else catch much of this? Any questions or comments on Cardiff versus Ospreys?
I mean, I think we were saying last week that we're expecting Cardiff to be the one team in the top 8 that dips and falls out completely. So the fact they managed to cling on could that be signs for Cardiff trying to go far as they can?
They've normally got a terrible record in Welsh derbies. And so to turn it around and get the wins in these 2 back-to-back ones is massive. Massive. And it's a statement to itself. Maybe the rugby wasn't great, but for them to do it, that's kind of bucking the trend of history, arguably.
That Cardiff Stormers game coming up is going to be spicy now.
It is. I don't think that's a foregone conclusion at all. I mean, it's looking ahead a wee bit, but I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that Stormers can go away to Cardiff and win. I mean, I think they'll be favourites, but I don't think it definitely would. I might try and get to that game because I think it's in May, so I might go and try and watch it. Anyway, let's now talk about Leinster losing. I didn't see this coming, Adam. It's another one where I did not see this one coming. Like, what happened? And it's one of those. I checked the score, and I was like, "Oh bloody hell! It's 26-all." And then I flicked it on, and Benetton were lining up a shot at goal in the 80+ minutes to win it. And the Leinster fans on Blue Sky were very unhappy about this.
Yeah. I didn't expect this one either. I don't think many of us would. Treviso are out of the race to the 8, but did the most funny thing that they could have done.
I put in the group chat for people who don't know. When the Lions beat Connacht and when Stormers beat Glasgow, I was like, Benetton, I need you to do something for me. And then they did it, and I was like, oh my God.
It was one of those where Leinster have something over them this year. And
6 losses in a single season is their worst ever season.
And that's just, to me, that's bizarre. Like, I think to everyone, it's just not the way that Leinster function.
Oh my God, Dan Sheehan was playing and Tadhg Furlong?
Yes, Tadhg Furlong did come off in the 21st. Look at the team. It's their full strength team, bar a couple. Their second row, then Jack Curran.
What? Yeah. I didn't know any of this. I didn't know what their team was. I assumed it was a rotated team.
No.
What the heck?
Near enough full strength. Look at the back line. You'll get even shocked even more shocked. Yeah.
A little bit down.
A little bit more down. Rieko Ioane was there. It was Tommy O'Brien.
Friend of the podcast, Rieko Ioane.
Friend of the podcast. And then their bench was good as well.
What's going on? I don't understand.
Do you know the way that, like, every single week we talk about Treviso and their team on paper being quite good?
Yeah.
It was one of those where I was just like, oh my God, the prophecies are coming true. But they're doing it at such a bad time. Yeah, for Leinster fans, to put the joking aside, Leinster fans, I would say that they're in a position where it's really weird and they have to win something. They have to, like, this game here, they should have won it. It should have been put to bed. Like, there was multiple times where I did think that there was times where, okay, I think it was the first Treviso try, and I was like, right, okay, knowing Leinster, it was the Gabriesi try. I was like, knowing Leinster, they will come back into it. Then their second row scored, and then it was like, right, okay, this is Leinster scoring. Now Van der Fleer scored a quite nice try as well. Then afterwards, Gibson Park scored, and I was like, right, okay, that is a healthy lead. They can't, they will not. This is Leinster. They cannot screw this up. And then they just started to shrug off tackles, and it was just really bizarre. Like, this try here, the try that we've just shown on the screen, when you look at that, when you look at all the sort of the cover defense, I think it was Gibson Park on the cover defense. Gibson Park didn't really do anything to try and block that runner or anything of the like. Conan should have tried better to tackle him out of the pitch. And then there was another try that Treviso scored. I think it was towards the end, where Gibson Park was on the cover. I think it was the 61st minute. Gibson Park was on the cover, and he just sort of half-arsed tried to cover tackle him, but he didn't.
Oh, that's really poor from
O'Brien.
Oh, did he get it? Was this a try or was this a cover?
No, it was a cover. It was the cover. He won
okay.
the
I
foot race
thought
and
because
it was that was.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. I'm disappointed in the URC now because if that's a try, I was like, he's done horrendously badly there. So that's why I
No,
was
he did exceptionally well, to be honest, to him in the opposite stand. But Leinster, it was really interesting because it was almost like last week. This is a very good try. It was Dan Sheehan doing Dan Sheehan things, and it was Gibson Park doing Gibson Park things as well. Sheehan with the gas right up the middle. And to be fair, in those moments, I did think that Leinster were comfortably going to win this. And then when it was Frawley that scored the last try, I thought, game over. It should be game over. Treviso were on their tails a bit. Then it came to the last minute, and it was a jackal penalty on the 80th minute. Like a complete jackal by the Treviso back row, and everyone, like all the Treviso players, it was like they won the World Cup, were jumping over each other, and I was like, whoa, Umaga has to make this kick. And if I know anything from my URC ball knowledge, is that Umaga could miss this kick. and knowing Treviso, I think it was like their last 8 years, they've lost every single game against Leinster, but draw one. So this was like 8 years of frustration coming out all at once. And did it affect anything in the top 8 bar hinder Leinster? Yeah. And was Treviso celebrating like they won something? Yeah. And fair enough. I think it's a case that Leinster now are in a position, as you said, Huw, their worst ever season in terms of losses. I don't think it's worst ever. I think it's worse in the last easily 10 or so years.
In the URC era, it's the worst ever URC season.
Yeah, it's their worst ever URC season. Leo Cullen hasn't won silverware in 4 years.
No, they won the URC last year.
Oh no! I mean, sorry. I apologize. I got
it doesn't count so badly because they didn't celebrate.
They didn't celebrate enough. I meant Leo Cullen has won. Well, yes, okay. So he won last year. This is the comments going to come from me now. So I can feel him coming on the back of me. I feel like they need to win something. I feel like they need to win the European Cup for this season to be like it's an all right season rather than a fire everywhere. There's stuff going wrong. There's not necessarily things going wrong, but I feel like they do miss Jordy Barrett.
Everybody misses.
Yeah, but Jody Barrett, like replacing Rico Ioane with Jody Barrett, it's like, he did have a flash of excellence a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
But I feel like he was quite overpriced in that sense. And it is interesting for Leinster because they have the full Ireland setup there. They've got their Dorises, they've got their Van de Fleers, they've got Harry Byrne and Gibson Park, they've got Prendergast, they've got everyone, but they struggle on paper. Like they struggle more actually on the pitch than on paper, and there's something not right. And it's really hard to point out, but there's something not right there. And is it the Leo Cullen effect? Maybe. Is it Nyber being the agent of chaos in the background, as some Leinster fans would conspiracize against that? Maybe. But yeah, I just find it dead interesting. But well done to Treviso. Fair play to them.
This game was like I saw the team sheets. I saw that Leinster had a mixed team, but a mostly strong team, and I saw that Treviso had mostly a good team. But the thing is, Treviso have run out a good team all season and seemingly were only focused on the Challenge Cup. And in the URC, they would run out a good team. I mean, like people even said Feketoa had a good game, and then Adam like threw him under the bus last week. But the thing is that when I didn't watch the game entirely at first, I watched it later, and then when I saw the result, I was like, "What? This." About 4 weeks ago, we ordered a pizza, right? And then somehow they just upgraded us from the pizza we ordered to like a better pizza, and we were told them like, "This isn't what we ordered. Like we ordered something else." And they were like, "Cool, we upgraded you by mistake. You could just have it." That's how it felt when I saw the result. I was like, "Sweet upgrade."
But I think it just shows how good the URC is in terms of, Treviso were out well, to be fair, it was Menoncello's last game as well in Treviso. There's a storyline to this. Treviso's last home game, Menoncello's last swan song before he goes off and makes money in France. At least they gave him a good send off, but they could have gave him a better season, let's face it.
Yeah. Ethan, sorry, do you have
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was just thinking this earlier. It's kind of like I know Benetton had injuries, but a lot of them would have played against Ireland. So I do wonder if it's in a way it's not super surprising. It's a brilliant result, but you know what I mean. It's like sorry.
Imagine they'd won in Dublin. Wow.
Yeah.
I was gonna say they had a team sheet and they went, oh, they're missing Stuart McCluskey. Oh, we could win now.
I think what it means, there was days, especially back in the Pro 14 era, which we don't talk about, that it was like Leinster's B team is good enough to win the league, and it did. Whereas now it's like Leinster's A team is losing away at Benetton. It's like it's just good for the URC. Sorry, Leinster fans, it's good for the URC that this is happening, and I thought that I didn't realize. I didn't check the team sheet. I assumed it was a Leinster B team that had got beat. So the fact that it really wasn't, wow, what an upset! It's one of the results of the season. I hadn't appreciated it fully. Fair play. Another one of the results of the season that we need to talk about now is Zebra 18, Dragons 19. Another last minute win. Di Richards with the try. I don't think it was it Di Richards? Are we sure about that? I thought it was somebody else. Okay, the URC website says Di Richards.
I think the URC website's got it wrong because the Munster replacement scrum half scored a try as well. So there's been a couple of mistakes today.
Oh, right, I feel sorry for that intern.
I don't think it was Di Richards, but anyway, we'll check later. Dragons fans, let us know in the comments. 80 plus 3 to win the game. Gosh, this was a kind of a, but the lead changed hands a couple of times, especially towards the end. So you could see Angus O'Brien scored in the 68th minute, and then Locatelli scored in the 70th minute, and then, I've completely said that wrong. Ben Carter scored in the 68th minute, then Locatelli scored in the 70th minute, then apparently Di Richards scored in the 83rd minute. It was quite a case of whoever was in the league panicked. And like, we're not used to winning rugby matches towards the end. We'd much prefer it if we were losing, please. And then they did lose, and then they'd go back winning again. It was just tense. I caught mostly the second half of this one. Zebra, I remember when Mike came on the pod and he said, Zebra, they're more focusing on developing individuals than the team. And you kind of see that because you see individual players playing really well. You think, oh, he's good. But then they've never met anybody else in the team. They must train on their own or something. I mean, they're bottom of the URC for a reason, and it is quite sad to see Zebra, 2 wins from 16 it is now, and it's difficult to see them picking up another one. They had decent moments, all right moments. I thought that your man Faisal, I think he's off at the end of the season. I think he's going to France somewhere. I might be wrong. They had good moments, but yeah, the Dragons got it done. They absolutely got it done. Maybe it was Di Richards who scored. I'm sorry, Di. They get the win. They get their third win of the season, and just ground it out. It was a full strength Dragons with Aaron Wainwright, Thomas Young, Tina Stabia, who the Dragons fans are absolutely loving at the moment. Paella in the centres, good to see him back. Angus O'Brien, all of the people. And Hugh Anderson on the bench, remember him? It was just... I would have been sad for whoever had lost this game. I'm sad for Zebras that they lost it, but I would have been sad for Dragons if they lost it as well. I think this is a clip of a scrum. I don't know who does it better. Oh no, it's a kick from Tina Stabia. Yeah, I said that the fans loved him. That's definitely gone out on the full. But anyway. Oh, yeah, but it's allowed to go out on the full because it's in its own 22. Anyway, so well done, Dragons. Anybody else got comments on this one?
I just love the way it's a replay of one of my favorite games I watched this season of the Challenge Cup quarterfinal. I must say that the running thing that I always think in my head is like, I wonder how Tinnis de Beer is doing, and I've kept a close eye on him this season. And let's just say, if we do a team of the season, he's my number 10.
You know,
he's quite a good player. I think he's quite a good player, to be fair. I think his way of doing it. I think at the very start of the season he gave Ulster quite a hard time, and then ever since then I've been like, I want to see if he keeps this up. And then with the couple of wins that the Dragons have had, I think he's been quite a good signing for them in propelling them into where they are.
When Cardiff lost him, a few people said, why have they let him go? That was a bad decision. Muhammed.
Yeah, good for him. He sort of came through the system. He wasn't super high related. He played well at the Bulls lower league system.
Pumas,
and then he went to the Pumas after that, but he also played at university rugby for the University of Pretoria. He was thought of as like the best guy we have at this moment type thing, but like there are other people coming through who show more potential to play at a higher level, that type of thing. And then he went through, and like you said, as soon as he got to Wales, he played really, really well. And I was super surprised that the Welsh team he was at originally kind of let him go to the Dragons. I thought like he's like a really good player, and he's kicked on at the Dragons. I don't know if the rumors are correct. I mean, there's numerous articles citing insiders saying that he was the Bulls are very thin with fly-offs right now because of injuries and whatnot, that Tinnis de Beer was so eager to return to the Bulls, he was willing to pay out his own release clause. And I don't think that reflects
my understanding is that the Bulls did try and get him, but the Dragons said no.
Okay, so I don't think that reflects Tinnis de Beer like doesn't like being in Wales. I think a lot of guys, I mean, he's from Pretoria. A lot of guys saw the manner in which the Bulls are playing now under Ackerman and was like, okay, maybe I can return with my wife and kids and stuff like that. So I don't think that means he doesn't like Wales. It just means he maybe wants to go home. So
he's a Bulls man. You can't hold it against him.
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of the Bulls, they nearly lost to my team, the Scarlets. I don't know how I've managed to engineer this to be the last game that we talk about. It wasn't a bad game at all. And of course, it's my team. Two best teams in the league, obviously. Bulls got lucky. What do you want me to say? The Scarlets scored 3 tries and missed 3 conversions. If we'd have got 2 conversions, we would have won. So there. So, really moral win, Scarlets, as always. 3 tries to 2. I swear the Bulls scored a 3rd try. Was it ruled out? Must have been.
Yeah, I thought I saw on the stats that because I tried to see if they got 5 points, and I thought I saw that they actually had scored 3, but we'll have to go back and see.
No, it does add up though. It does add up though. 14 plus 9 is
that means just like lots of kicks. I mean, it became a kicking back and forth towards the
weird.
end.
I don't think it should have ended like that. Even when we were going for the shots of goal, even though the Joe Hawkins did get them, I was like, go to the corner. And I eventually feel like I was proved right on that front, to be honest. We rattled the Bulls. I do have a voice note from the Bulls attack coach that I need to listen to later to see what he thought of it. The thing about the Scarlets is I think we are the most talented but least intelligent team in Wales. So our players are ultimately the best, but we're not very good at solving problems on the field. So when we play against good teams like Leinster and Bulls, who are it's easy to do your homework on these teams. You can sit down and watch clips of them and stuff and come up with plans and stuff. And if we've got a whole week to revise for the test, then we're good. Whereas if we play against a less good team where they might just turn up and just do some mental shit that you didn't expect, we're not very good at coping with that. So other Welsh teams, for example. So I think that's why, and ultimately, like we've gotten unlucky because the 10s missed the conversions, and like I said, even if one goes over, it's at least a draw. We have to say congratulations to the Bulls for their first ever win in West Wales. And Andre Pollard's pulled them out of it. I think this was something like his 13th game in a row for the Bulls that he's played. He hasn't missed a single one, and he's pulled out, and he was the difference between the two sides. I did feel like by the end, though, I mean, if I show you the benches, the Scarlets bench, there we had some unused substitutes, and there was like teenagers and semi-pros on our bench and stuff. Like we really, yeah, the players that probably shouldn't be playing at this level yet. Like, yeah, I'm looking at our bench and it's not strong, to be fair. I mean, Archie Hughes is great. I love him. Carmen Lega-Jones, tons of potential. Other than that, you know, Jack Price has been around the block, I guess. Whereas you look at the Bulls bench, Marco van Staden, Jan Hendrik Vessels, Francois Klopp, who's going to be amazing, Cobus Visa, Gumede, Willy Leroux, hello, DeAndre Rudolph. Yeah, there's a bit of a difference there. There's a bit of a difference in these benches. And so it proved. And by the end, the Bulls were kind of going from their half to our 22 pretty easily because we were just out of steam and stuff. But we managed to rattle them. I'm interested to see what Neil De Bruyne thinks when I ask him later. But yeah, with the Scarlets, because our season's over, I'm not like, oh, we lost, that's terrible. But it's just kind of like, I feel like the performance merited a win. I don't know, Mohammed, what do you think?
I think you guys played really, really well. This was not as sort of straightforward as last week for the Bulls, but credit to the Bulls. This is what you need to do. I mean, we've seen Leinster do this a lot. We've seen other teams, even Glasgow in their pomp do this a lot. Like go in, get the business done. If it's a sort of a more high scoring game, get the business done. If it's a more sort of like arm wrestle and you're getting a lot of resistance, still get at least 4 points. I mean, the Bulls to go on tour and to get 9 points out of possible 10. Excellent. Now they're marching up the table. Yes, maybe earlier in the season they were finding their feet. Earlier this season they had issues in terms of defense and the new coaching staff, and then there was obviously a reshuffle there. They did play a pretty much almost identical team to last week, so that did help the Bulls. And yeah, I think their set piece helped a lot. And they're mixing the forwards. They're mixing the forwards with the backs quite well. This isn't an identical type team. People sometimes would say like, oh, Ackerman's doing exactly what he did for the 2 seasons when he was there, when the Lions made the Super Rugby final, didn't win either of them. And then Ackerman left them. The Lions did make the Super Rugby final after that, but De Bruyne, Sois De Bruyne was the coach at the time. He took over after Ackerman. But I think rugby has evolved. Ackerman's coaching style has obviously evolved. He's got like you said, Neil De Bruyne, like interesting name drop there. So it's like, oh, you've got the coach on the line. You can get us some inside info. But I think they're a bit more forward. I think they got a bit more forward punch than that Lions team from a decade ago. So yeah, the Bulls weirdly
massively. It's like an international quality pack.
Yeah. Where could the Bulls? Because that pack from Lions back in the day had very skillful loose forwards. This one's more like punch you in the face type thing. And where could the Bulls be in terms of the log if they had sort of gotten better results earlier this season? So, I mean, the season's not over. There's a lot to play for. It might hurt the Bulls a bit that they have to play away, but they are the best South African team to play away. So, I mean, if the Lions have to play an away knockout round, I wouldn't really fancy their chances. But the Bulls, I think they're at least in it with a chance.
The Bulls pack is amazing, and just watching them set and bind for scrums, like even before they started pushing, it's like, wow. Like there was some when who was starting? I think it was Grobler against Henry Thomas. I was like, even on the bind, I was like, oh, he's got him in trouble. Like as soon as they bound up, I was like, okay, this is going one way. And yeah, there's just, I think that they got away with it. They got a bit. They did get lucky. When you're on a winning run, you can put one down to luck and say, okay, let's forget about it. Let's go home. They get a break week now to recover, to recuperate before 2 winnable games at home. So I think the Bulls will just want to move away from this as quickly as possible. Before we go and have a look at the standings, let's just quickly mention the Women's Six Nations. So I was at England versus Wales on Saturday. I do not intend on going back to Bristol Ashton Gate. It's an absolute nightmare of a place. But I was happy with Wales. Wales became the second ever team to score a try bonus point against England in the Six Nations. France has done it 3 times. Wales have done it once. No one else has ever done it ever. So I was happy about that. We scored the most points we've ever scored against England in the Six Nations, 24. And just generally, pretty satisfied despite getting a bit of a hiding. And we scored the tries late on in the game as well, which I was happy about because Wales have been a team that quits over the last year, and that seems to be leaving the team now. So I'm happy about that. Ethan, it's not going great for Scotland.
No, when I saw the lineup that Rachel Malcolm, I think she was injured within like the last hour or something before the game started, so she had to get ruled out. And I thought that's quite a big last minute loss. Yeah, I think that's the first time Scotland's lost to Italy for the women's team, which fair play to Italy. I didn't see the result, or I didn't see the game, I saw the result. It was like 46, was it 46?
41-14, palindromic scoreline.
Yeah, I mean, I am kind of on the mind that it's not a year Scotland can just throw away with the new coaching staff. It's a nice, okay, we've got stuff to fix out, but for us to have a successful year, we really needed to have won that because now we've got Ireland and France, which granted, maybe they could beat Ireland, but we're not going to be able to touch France. So we're just going to be.
I'm quite worried about you against France, to be honest, because France is so physical and Scotland have got no physicality whatsoever at the moment.
No.
So I think you might be steamrolled a little bit. And then Adam, congratulations, Italy, obviously a URC team. And then Adam, you didn't manage to get your revenge out in Clermont.
No, we did not. It was a pretty good performance, though. I think the first half was.
It looked great on TV, by the way.
Yeah, the first half was like really it was amazing, to be fair. It was a pretty dogged performance from both teams in terms of the first half. I think we had 3 tries ruled out by TMO. We had about 3 tries ruled out by TMO, and then the second half, that's when the French onslaught happened. And France were too powerful in the second half. I think we were looking for revenge, and to be fair, in the Interpro show, we mentioned how we were quietly confident about, well, not quietly confident, just quite confident. I think in the press leading up to it, everyone felt quite confident in it as well. But to be fair, for that first half performance, I think we threw everything. We threw everything at them. The second half, as I said, I think France were way too clinical. They were not way too clinical. They were really clinical in just their try scoring. But yeah, it was a disappointing scoreline. It was much better actually to watch, especially for that first half.
Yeah, I think, but with France, they've had like 3 games in a row that have gone exactly the same.
Yeah.
So I think that France are up to something, honestly. I don't trust them, but I do. Anyway, let's now go to look at the URC log. Ooh, it's different since the last time we looked at it. Stormers top, 56 points, but only by 1 point top. Ooh, so we'll see. There's not much. We spoke about the Stormers quite enough. Glasgow still in second. Spoke about them. Fidelity's secure drive in third on 53. They'll do well to hang on to that, Muhammed. I don't see them doing it.
Yeah, because they have to play Leinster and Munster in Ireland. So to make the playoffs, they need to at least get some points. They can't go over these 2 games in Ireland with no points.
What a huge game that Munster versus Lions game could end up being.
Yeah,
on the last day.
Yeah, and I think I would say that would be the game they should target. But then again, Leinster did sort of just lose to Benetton, but that was in Italy, so I doubt Lions would be able to beat Leinster in Dublin. But
I can very much see the Lions getting a bonus point against Leinster.
Yeah, like at least 4 tries, maybe that type of thing.
Yeah.
And then maybe doing the thing. So yeah, the whole of South Africa is rooting for the Lions. We didn't expect them to be here. Their project was to like build it up, and yeah, they're actually reaping the rewards of their hard work.
Moving on down, it's crazy after the difficulties that that Munster have had, Adam. I think that they could easily get top 4.
I think looking at Munster's next couple of games, as I said before, to be fair with Connacht being a bit of a bogey team in the Dexcom Stadium as well, bearing in mind it's like a new stadium, very nice stadium to be fair when it's sold out. I'm not quite sure how the tickets are going for it, but I'm sure it will be a sellout for that. They could get top four, or they could cough up against Connacht. I think that's the two ways of going about it. I think they'll beat the Lions. Um, but judging from that, fifth down to ninth even, and like above them as well, that this table is so close that no one can afford to slip up. But yeah, I think Munster definitely, I think top eight is definitely there. Especially even with I think especially with that Lions game being in Thomond Park, I think they're relatively safe. I think top four could be a bit of a well, actually, no. I think
There's easily a
looking at
world
the
for me
Lions,
where Munster win their last two games with bonus points and get 10 out of 10 in these last two for me.
yeah, and I think if it really depends on the Lions really going for well, Leinster and well, Leinster Munster can help anyone there and shift the Lions down. So yeah, I don't see Cardiff capitalizing on that potential, but yeah, I think you're right, Hugh. Now you've spoken myself into it. I do think that they could push for that top four position.
And excuse me, Cardiff. I don't think any team is in the URC has ever got 50 points and not gotten top eight, I believe. I mean, someone let me know in the comments down below if that's wrong. But I think for Cardiff, you just got to go all out attack because Connacht now are 6 points behind you with two games to go. So you'd be very unlucky if you don't make it. I think if you can get a try bonus, but you're away in Glasgow and then Stormers at home, I think 2 bonus points will see you over the line. So I would just go all out attack. Just go try. And see, then you don't need to win to get top eight, is what I'm saying. So that looks good. Bulls, 2 home games. I don't know, Muhammed, where do you think because it's bloody congested above them. They are 4 points behind the Lions. There's easily a world where the Lions lose both of their games remaining. I don't know what the best possible outcome is for the Bulls now. I think maybe 5th is the best they can manage.
Yeah, my understanding is they're not really thinking about that. They're just going, get 10 points. Don't slip up in any way. I mean, random stuff does happen. It's very EPL. And then wherever you land, hopefully top 4, but wherever you land, then regroup and go for it. If it's away from home, hopefully you maybe get a slightly favorable away from home. Whatever sort of happens. I think a Bulls Glasgow repeat might be fun to watch as well in Glasgow. And yeah, look, for me, they're definitely making the playoffs. Like you said, they're possibly 5th, but exactly where they're going to land, it's inconsequential right now. I think burn that bridge when we get there.
Okay, that's a new saying. And then Adam, Ulster or Connacht? Wait, which way is he going?
Ulster. I don't think for me, I think the Challenge Cup isn't a given. And we know from last season that we didn't qualify for the Champions Cup. It's incredibly biased to be saying this, of course, but I think judging from last year and not qualifying for the Champions Cup and it being our first year professional rugby without Champions Cup, or our first year without the Champions Cup, in general, I feel like we do definitely need a top 8 finish. I don't think we could have had, this good of a season compared to last season and not have a top 8 finish. Granted, we have the Stormers and we have Glasgow at home, but it's in Belfast, it's at home. I did say about Connacht and Munster, that's going to be a game that I'm going to be keeping an eye on, quite a frightened eye on, because of that, because Connacht could easily win that, and then they'll probably beat Edinburgh as well. It all depends on what happens below us. But I say hopefully that Ulster have a position where we can easily climb the table, given the fact that Glasgow play Cardiff. If we get a win against the Stormers, we could. I'd say we'd push for 6th, hopefully by the end of it.
I look forward to watching Stormers versus Ulster in a quarterfinal at Cape Town Stadium.
We need revenge. We need revenge after the last time.
What happens if it's Connacht versus the Stormers in the quarterfinal at Cape Town Stadium? Oh wow! They're gonna.
They need revenge. Stormers need revenge.
Yeah.
I feel like Ulster facing the Stormers away in a knockout game gives me the shakes because
Yeah,
the
yeah.
last
But
time
Adam,
the last time that happened, we all know what happened after that.
Adam, are you gonna fly down to Cape Town to watch the game?
If there's any flights going out of John Lennon Airport.
Well,
Or
yeah, at least
Kent.
your accommodation is sorted. Yeah, we'll sort you out. Don't worry.
Oh yeah, perfect. I've got that side of it done.
And then quickly, Champions Cup, Challenge Cup for next week. So is a stat for you of the 4 Champions Cup semi-finalists, only Toulon won this last weekend. Bordeaux lost at home to Montpellier. Leinster lost to Benetton. Bath lost away at Saints. And Toulon beat Montauban in the top 14. So there's a stat for you. So how are we feeling that one's going? So Bordeaux versus Bath, I think, is obviously the big one.
Bordeaux.
I want Bath to win it, but I feel like it's going to be a Bordeaux show.
Don't really have a dog in the fight, but looking forward to that Bordeaux Bath game, and then obviously, how do I feel about Leinster? That's also going to be a good game. But yeah, you could root for Leinster to lose, but you could also root for URC team to go on and win the tournament.
Ethan, Leinster, Toulon.
Oh, sorry. I thought it was. I forgot. In my head, it was Leinster Sale, and I was like, I forgot that one happened.
Oh my God! If Sale Sharks made it this far, I'm quitting this podcast.
Sail away.
I forgot that happened. I scrubbed that game out of my mind. I feel Toulon's had a weird run in that they were pretty bad in top 14, so that this is like their only shot of doing something. So I feel like Toulon with confidence, Leinster having that sort of bogey season where everything seems to be going wrong at the moment. Toulon might pull it off.
Adam, what do you say to that?
I'd say in the opposite sense, this is the most that I feel like Leinster in Bilbao. The last time it happened in Bilbao, Leinster won. And saying it as an Ulster fan, to be fair, only having one in the fight, as Muhammed would say. I'd say Leinster will win it. Setting up quite a good game against Bordeaux. You'd say that Leo Cullen could be, after all my questioning of him, could be a master technician and holding something back. Letting Treviso beat nearly their first team leads Toulon in a sense of, oh, we can do this now. And maybe Bordeaux rubbing their hands or Bath, but I would say Leinster will win it, setting up quite a nice final against Bordeaux.
I don't know if I said it earlier. This stats courtesy of Dak Kalon. 6 games outside of Ireland for Leinster in the URC this season, 1 win. So the fact that the Champions Cup finals in Bilbao makes me really doubt them now, because they can't, unless it's the Dragons, they can't win away from home.
Yeah, that's like one of those stats that it's bonkers to look at, but I do feel like this is the most like it's the season if we don't expect Leinster to win a Champions Cup. Every other season we expect them to win the Champions Cup. It's the type of season where we're like sort of like keeping half an eye on them and then they'll win it. Do you know what I mean? It's one of those where they could win it. I wouldn't be surprised if they made it to the final. I'd be very surprised if they got knocked out in the semi-final. But I think Bordeaux have such a stronghold in it at the minute that it would make quite an entertaining final.
I agree. And then Challenge Cup, we've got Ulster versus Exeter.
Interesting. Watching the Exeter game today, I was sort of like, ooh, could we play our kids against them? I'm not sure. But the thing is as well that I think Exeter are playing to win this trophy. Exeter still have quite a good team on paper. But it's Ulster, it's Ravenhill, it's at home. We don't really have many European semi-finals at home. Last time we did it was Aviva 2012 against Edinburgh in the Champions Cup. So yeah, I'd say Ulster to win it and a nice day out in Bilbao, I hope.
And then Montpellier versus Dragons. Look, obviously Dragons, but Montpellier are probably good enough to get to the semi-final of the Champions Cup, let alone the Challenge Cup. Montpellier are currently second in the top 14. They're excellent away from home. Got good discipline. They're just playing bloody good rugby. So yeah, Montpellier there. Anyway, that brings us to the end of the show. So that just leaves me to say thank you very much to Irish Adam, Scottish Ethan, and South African Muhammed.
Thank you.
Cheers.
I have, for the purposes of this podcast, been Welsh Huw. Enjoy your rugby, and I hope that everybody's team wins.